Okay, today I thought we'd take a look at this Horikawa Cosmic Fighter robot. This is from about 1984, 85, somewhere in there. And being made in Japan and by Horikawa, the quality is quite good. It's a 2D cell battery. It's a walking robotic and a head splitter. So I thought you guys might want to take a peek inside and see how they do all of those different things. So today we're going to tear it apart. In the case of this one, it's not too bad because there's actually a screw here and a screw there, and then we should be able to release, I believe, the top of the head. I haven't ever actually had this one apart. I do have a mint in box one of these out in the hut, and I think I've done a video on that in the past. Can't remember for sure. This is one from my robot parts spare room. And I just thought maybe it'd be fun for you guys to take a peek inside and see what's going on. Okay, that's not quite wanting to come off, so we're going to leave that. On the front, so you got a metal body, but you have a plastic front head, plastic arms, metal legs, metal feet covers, plastic to the bottom of the feet. So now I think we'll just lift this front off. Take a peek in this way. So the nice thing about this design is there aren't metal tabs to bend and have break off. It actually is a screw together robot so far. We'll see if that continues to hold true. Okay. Set that over there. So we can get a little bit of a glimpse of the inside. Let's see. It looks like there's pins that now that the front's off, I can pull out. There's one, which will then probably release the head more or less. The front held those pins in so they couldn't fall out. So if that's lifted up, then these head pieces can come off. Like so. Then this whole top piece can come off. Kind of an interesting piece. And so now we can see down into the robot a little bit more. Now it looks like if we wanted to get full disclosure of this battery box and mechanics, we are down to some tabs which we would have to bend. Then there will be some wires which will be kind of hanging on, but it might be worth just trying to see what we can see. Straightening these two tabs up in the front as much as I can, and once I get the body off, then I'll straighten them up a little bit more. And I'm just using this screwdriver as a pry bar to get up over the tabs like that. Now I can go back in with my needle nose and straighten the tabs up, so when I go to put it together it'll be a lot easier. Okay. Wow. We've got a lot going on here. So on this side we have our standard ramp sequencer. We've talked about these in the past. These are two gears, one stacked on top of the other, and the gears will have about usually a 1/2 difference between the two of them, which means they don't rotate at the same speed. So one of the gears will have a ramp slot in it, as you can see right there, and the other gear will have the actual ramp. And in this case, whenever there's these, the motor has to run in the correct direction, otherwise you'll jam everything up, cause a lot of problems. So assuming the motor's running in the right direction, the ramp, which apparently right now is in the slot because the two gears are together, so as the gears get further and further out of sync of each other because of the different number of teeth, the gear will start crawling up that ramp onto the solid part of the gear. and eventually it'll come all the way around where it drops back into the slot, and then they come back together. So that allows this jack shaft to move up and down and up and down. And you can sort of see the motor back in there. We'll see if we can see the other side of the motor better here in a minute. Here's the back side. There's a fiber board, a clicker, and the same clicker that engages with these. When that lifts up, goes up like that, you can engage the clicker, then that will cause the light to flash, because they consider one side of the light grounded to the frame and the other side of the light going right to the battery pack. Now, also tied in with this whole thing, well, here we can actually see this gear right here that's on this shaft. So as this raises and lowers, see how that brass gear is going to go up and down? So that's going to be able to engage this ramp that they've built in here. And if you can see the finger that it's going to be pushing on, see how that raises that up? And then how it's going to be hard to see this because my finger will be in the way. But as this gear would turn around, you see this slot right here? That's cut out. When that comes all the way around to where this brass gear that's driving it, it's going to stop right there. It won't be able to go on to the next set of teeth. That's all the way up. So that's when this robot has shifted from walking into head splitting. That goes all the way up, holds the head open. Not so much chattering with this type of design as there are on the Robothut that I showed you before with the chest one. Because of that cutout, it gives it a nice place to nestle. Now there's still some chattering and some wear on the brass gear, but that makes it last longer. They spring load this to return. You see the spring is right there, like that. And then there's also a spring on the front to pull it back down. The hope with the head return, so the both halves of the heads will slam shut. And here is the other side. You can't see a whole lot on this side other than the motor. If you peek in here, you can actually see the sorta, I guess, there. You can see the motor brass pinion gear, so it's nice that it's metal, and I'm kind of rotating things a little right here. See that? So that drives that big gear. That big gear drives a splined gear in the back, which drives both of these two gears, which does the shifting mechanism for the upper. Now, there's a shifting mechanism that happens also clear down in the bottom. And if you watched my other video on Robothut, then you'll understand what's going on down there is when that brass gear is all the way down inside the legs, that's going to drive the walking mechanism and all of that. And when it lifts up, it's going to drive the gear, the big round gear you see there, for the body rotomatic action. And that's what's going on there. Now, whether we can run this thing in these bits and pieces, I don't know. We're going to find out. I've got the body sitting on upside down right now, but it's just easier to hold it that way. Let's get a couple of batteries in there and see if some of this will become visible for you guys. Okay. It's kind of hard to hold this in a way that the camera is going to be able to see stuff. And the battery door keeps wanting to open up on its own. And the arms want to get in the way and blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm going to have to hold on to the mechanism and switch on. So there's that part. Let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of chattering on that brass gear in that opening, and that's where they wear and tend to wear them out. Now down in here, you can see the ramp spreading the two. It's going to be rather hard to see the lower part. And now you can see that gear is up, rotating, and then it's dropped down to the leg walking. Okay. All right, let's put the body back on so I'm not trying to hold so many bits from each other. I'm going to straighten this metal up a little bit. It's kind of crinked. Get the back in place, get the front in place. There we go. Give those tabs a twist. You know, there's two ways to set a tab. One's just to bend it over, and the other way is to give it a twist. Normally in production in the factory, they'd give it a twist because it's a lot quicker to twist something than it is to fold something over. All right, let's see if we're still golden at this point. All right, let's see if we can get the next bit back together. If I remember right, we pulled the top of this headpiece off, didn't we? I think. And it seems like the two screws that held that on weren't critical to the rest of the assembly, so let's go ahead and put those in while we can. Although, maybe I can't slide the head pieces on with this piece in place. Let's find out. We'll just redo things if it doesn't work. So we had the head shell, and you can see it's got a place for the bar to pivot across, then it's got the linkage one that causes the tipping. And I think it'd be easier to put that on like that. And then we take one of the axles, sort of like a long nail, put that in, and let's try the other side. Okay, that. Okay, so far so good. If we run it now, these two pins will probably try to drop out, but we may give it a shot just to see what it looks like. I'll try holding the body part so you can see this action. Okay. So now we just had the front of the body, and it had its 4 screws that held it on, and I left the screws in the plastic part, so hopefully it won't be too hard to put this back in place. I'm not sure. You certainly don't want to strip any of these out. You just want to get them snug and call it good. That one didn't bite on anything yet. There we go. And let's drop this one down in there. I don't think that one's in right. Didn't feel right to me. I'll try it again. Just loosen it up and drive it back in. Not sure. I think that feels pretty good. Okay, it looks like it's all in place. I'd say it's back together. Yeah. So, for any of you that ever wanted to know what was inside the Robothut head splitters, well, this is the Cosmic Fighter. Around 1984, 1985, right in there. Made in Japan, Horikawa. I believe, yeah, even on the back of the battery box. Kind of getting near the end of when they really did well-built and well-designed robot toys.